Bederow has a number item as well.
Mr. Bederow.
Thank you, Judge.
Honestly, go fuck yourself, sir. You don't say that, okay? You don't lose a trial where a jury acquits someone and finds them overwhelmingly not guilty and say, I gave my sincere obligation to look into this, and I'm telling you all I saw when she's guilty. Again, respectfully, go fuck yourself.
Swear again like that. That was, no, I mean, whatever. That was, I shouldn't have done that.
A few moments later.
You, as a prosecutor, have got to be out of your fucking mind.
Nose.
Dude, Jimmy, look at those ears.
The ears don't bother me as much.
No, I don't trust a man. I don't trust a man with a lobe like that. No,
really,
not a fucking chance.
The mouth is butthole to me.
Very thin, paper thin.
The nose.
Oh, the nose.
The brows.
Well, listen, I will tell you though, I kind of like a fucked up nose on a guy.
I like a big old honker. I like a big nose.
Old nose. Give me that big bitch. You know,
yeah,
like, I'm into it.
Come over here, cluck cluck.
Yeah.
I see some chickens that went moving on up in my biz, cluck cluck. You gotta be with the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, kids.
And I go, oop, clutch, clench, kegel. We did it all. And I go, oh, and what happened? And they go, well, we just got 4,000 plus pages, bitch. And I said, stop it. Show me it. Take me to Unimpound Town immediately, if not sooner. So what happens?
The bitch is here.
Why are you at a football game? Are you a Fonz correspondent?
Well, no, because it's only for men over 30. Okay? Have a great night, boys. Fuck off.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
Hey, Blues Clues, motherfucker.
Good morning, lovies. Happy Sunday. I welcome you to Sunday service this April 12th, 2026. And we are gathered here today with our emotional support attorney who is business. He is a man on a mission and giving us his time. We are thankful. All right. We are thankful for thee. We are thankful for he. And who is he? He is Mr. Attorney Mark Bederow. Welcome him to the stage. Good morning, Mr. Bederow.
How are you?
I love to see, listen, a Sunday morning, you in a suit, me in a hoodie, a random NurseKim sign in the back. What is happening? Everything is aligning.
Don't take this the wrong way, but the suit's not for you. It's just one of those days. Lot of business, even on a Sunday. It's just one of those things. So
absolutely.
If I look periodically distracted at another computer, there's important stuff going on that's fluid. So bear with me.
Absolutely. 100% bear with you. Also thankful for you for showing up. And 3, we don't need to fluff as much then. We can do just like get all to the, meat and potatoes of it. I wanted to ask you, I did want to ask, I have to, because I'm a nosy bitch and you know this. You were in Arizona last week.
I was.
So was Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini. Thoughts?
Well, they were in Sedona, which is
Arizona.
A lovely place, but it is kind of a romantic place, actually.
Never been.
Sedona's beautiful. It's Red Rock country up there. It's a lot of hippies with crystals, and it's fascinating country. It's very nice. It's a nice place to go visit when you're trying to impress someone, if you know what I mean. So, whatever. I have no opinion. The pictures are what they are. It's not good for a lot of reasons. Rossini's probably finished. I mean, her credibility is shot because she's a reporter,
right?
And Vrabel's a source, and it looks bad. And how is she ever going to be a credible NFL reporter again? People are going to say things whether they're true or not. I suspect she won't survive this.
Yeah, and I did say that like the pictures you can get past them because like also it's not really any of our business, but it's the interlocking. I was saying the finger interlocking, the way in which it was presented. And the bigger question is that these were shopped around, these photos. So somebody had hired a PI. This is the allegations now. And you just wonder, with the close team / source relationship, that is where she kind of drops the ball, I think, in my opinion.
Well, who hired the PI would be my concern too. Is that somebody's spouse?
I think so. I would think.
Oh, then this probably gets ugly, and it's not good for Vrabel if it's true. I mean, it doesn't look good either way, but the double standards and his position given hers, I mean, he'll survive. He'll take a lot of heat. He'll probably have issues, not football related, I imagine, in the near future, perhaps. But I don't see how she's going to survive. And I imagine there's going to be a lot of other female reporters who are going to be very upset by this and really be angry at her, because, they have to, it's hard to break into a male dominated field. And this doesn't help. It hurts a lot, actually.
And to all the women who, that has been said about them, right? Skip Bayless said something where he's like, this has always been something that people question, or like, is it just because you're a good looking girl? Is it just because you have a relationship with either a GM or whatever it is? And that at this point, for the women who on their merits have made it where they are, that's like a slap in the face.
I think you're right. Although anything that's premised with, like Skip Bayless says, 90% I would just ignore because he's such a clown. I mean, he's not a serious sports person, but he's right on this.
Yeah.
No, it's a credibility thing. At this point, it doesn't even matter what's true or what's not. And frankly, that's between the two of them and their spouses, their kids, their families. But the optics of it are terrible. And the reality is her credibility is shot. And, other stories came out about something from the old Washington Redskin days.
Yes.
And again, true or not, she's cooked. It's just what it is.
And all I was looking for was a picture of my coach. All I was hoping, wishing on a prayer, and to Tiny Mary, Tiny Jesus, Punch, Mr. Bederow, and Chuck Norris in the boom was, could Mr. Bederow see Coach Vrabel? And, everybody saw Coach Vrabel, and not in the way I wanted.
Well, I wish we'd all be better off if I saw Coach Vrabel instead of Diane Rossini, right? So
touche. Maybe next time, Coach.
And Vrabel's going to take a lot of heat for this too. Again, the optics. He's a leader of men, and as you know, he famously always calls on a female reporter at every press conference first. Again, showing that to show awareness of women breaking into the ultimate man's world. And now, if he's mixed up and being accused of this, not just with a woman, but with someone who is a well-regarded NFL reporter who, she's sharing information, that could be proprietary or leaking things. All of this is bad. I mean, the coach is not going to get fired for this. That's never going to happen. But she's poison for any credible news agency, because a journalist, credibility is everything. It's the only thing. And if there's any inkling that you get sources by, doing things in a bedroom to get information in a male dominated field.
And the only thing I did want to say is that, like, unfortunately, and I feel like I have a bias because I don't like, or I don't know Rossini like that, but like Coach, I feel a connection to from the Patriots as a player, as a coach, as what he did for the season. And like you said, as a leader of men. And I see her getting absolutely murked online, right? She is taking the brunt of it. And I just think that that's unfair. It takes two to tango. And, although my head goes to, she sucks for doing it and internalized misogyny or whatever it is, or it is my love for the Patriots that is, making that come to the forefront. They're both kind of responsible, if true.
Well, they're both responsible, and you're right. And of course, some people are going to say, why is the woman taking the heat, not the man? This is all of that. And a lot of that is true, but there is a bigger point here in terms of that. the journalist, always male or female, is going to look worse in this situation because Vrabel's just a football coach. Okay.
Yeah.
His job is on the field, in the locker room, get his team prepared, do whatever. And if he has flaws and faults and whatever, it's not good. But again, a journalist, their only stock in trade is credibility and accuracy and legitimacy. And if you are, allegedly stuffing the sources to get information, you can't be a journalist. And that has nothing to do with being a man or a woman. It's worse because she's a woman. She's going to get criticized more. It's worse because it's much harder for women to break into sports journalism, particularly the NFL, ultimate boys club, if you will. So it's a perfect storm of bad for her. But putting aside the fact that all of that's unfortunate, she has destroyed her journalistic credibility. And, man, woman, anything else, if you have no credibility as a journalist, you're done. You can't function as a serious journalist if you have problems. And I mean, she works for The Athletic, the New York Times. These are organizations who, all jokes aside about how credible the New York Times over the last several years maybe has become or not become, that you can't have this. If there's no journalistic integrity, there's no journalist. So, and it's the optics of it, because next time she breaks any big story, if this were to happen, here it comes. Did she screw the coach? Did she screw the source? That's going to be said for the rest of her career, to the extent she has one, which I don't think she does.
Yeah, that's rough. What do you think though? Let's say, playing devil's advocate, how about back in the olden days, you would know that every journalist kept all, specifically, I think in sports, right? That they would say, keep everything at arm's distance. You never had a relationship. Like, you wouldn't be able to consider somebody a friend, go to dinners, do things like that. Now I feel as though the opinion journalism versus facts matter journalism is that you see sometimes reporters will take it easy on people that they like or that they have a relationship with, even on a friendship level, or I'll give you a little source. It's a little quid pro quo-y, even with the boys going out to dinner or in a cigar bar or in whatever else.
I don't think anyone would per se have a problem with that. I mean, look, part of being a journalist is to foster relationships, generate sources. Yeah. And I get it. I mean, there are other male NFL reporters who I have no doubt hang out and have a drink with. And I don't think anyone would mind that per se, even if it's a woman. There's always going to be misogyny and people who would say, oh, a woman and a man coach, oh, is she, there's always going to be that unfair criticism. But holding hands, sitting by the pool, in the hot tub, at a romantic place in Sedona, Arizona, they claim other people were there. Who the hell knows? It doesn't even matter if it's true. It's the optics. Her credibility is shot, because to allow herself to be put into that situation is reckless and stupid. And I don't know what they did. And frankly, I don't really care. Right. But the optics of that look terrible. I mean, give you a perfect example. One of the leading NFL stories over the past several weeks and going forward is whether the Patriots are going to make this incredible trade for A.J. Brown. What happens if Diane Rossini in 2 weeks breaks the story of the trade? What is everybody going to say? Did she find out in bed? I mean, that's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
She's toast. Her credibility is shot. That, fair or unfair, I don't think she's going to survive this.
What do you think it says about the Athletic not taking a stand or kind of backing her up right now? Do you think that's going to change?
Yeah. I mean, she tells them nothing happened. They defend an employee, but I'll tell you exactly what they're going to do. First of all, The Athletic is the New York Times. They're the same company, okay? And what any major corporation does in a situation like this is bring in the lawyers and cha-ching, spend the money, and they're going to do an in-depth internal investigation, which is going to cost millions of dollars. They're going to interview everyone. They're going to look at whatever, and they're going to find out. And they're not going to, the goal of the exercise is not going to be to find out whether Vrabel and Diane Rossini had an affair. Mm-hmm. It's be to determine what situations they were in, what place she put herself in. Was she reckless? Did she compromise her journalistic credibility and integrity? And how does that affect us as the company? And then they're all going to stare around and say, how can we let her work for us given all of this? And she becomes a casualty of this.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be like when proctor became like you proctored, when it became a verb, it's going to be like racinied, right? It's like, that's going to end up being a meme.
I mean, on some level, yeah. I mean, those pictures speak for themselves in the sense it puts them in a weird position. It doesn't mean they had an affair. They may not have had an affair. And frankly, who cares? It is
right.
But when you are a reporter and it is a source and you get information that other reporters may not be privy to because you're flirting or doing whatever, well, we have a problem with journalistic integrity and credibility. And, it's a cutthroat world, with these reporters want to get scoops and do whatever. And if the playing field is not equal and, people are going to say this woman is using her body to get stories. I mean, who do you think are going to be the maddest people in all of this? Legitimate, credible female reporters who don't put themselves in the situation that she did.
Yeah. 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 I 100% agree. I wish that I do wish, though, I will say 10 out of 10, wish that if we could have turned back the hands of time and somehow done a teleportation into Back to the Future, that Coach Vrabel was with you in Arizona and we got a picture of Mr. Bederow, little Mr. Bederow, and him instead of this news story.
The world would be a better place if, I had my son in a picture with Vrabel instead of Vrabel and Diane Rossini. That's for
absolutely. Sure. So thank you very much for that. I hope you guys had a wonderful trip. And yesterday, Mr. Bederow, my brain exploded. And yes, it did. Why? Because it was announced by Howie Carr, actually, that the Department of State Police personnel order that on Thursday, April 9th, 2026, the retirement of Brian Tully, all roads lead back to Tully, was announced. In accordance with Mass General Law and the rules and regulations governing Massachusetts State Police, the below named officer is honorably discharged by reason of retirement under the provisions of Chapter 32, Section 28A in the General Laws amended, effective of the date of close of business on Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. Oh. Now, this is per Howie. He writes, the curse of Karen Reed continues. I like to think of it as the karma of Karen Reed, because if you go through the list of Mass State Police whom have retired, expired, or been fired, it is astonishing. It is staggering. And it is related to, in my opinion, humble opinion, two cases: Sandra Birchmore, Karen Reed. What are your thoughts on the retirement? It's an honorable discharge, right, of duty. This is just a retirement. It's not a resign. It's not a firing. It's not a discipline. But is there a convenient timing due to his age, being only 53?
Everyone should take a deep breath. And I've noticed in like the online YouTube, Twitter world, where people get on some level obsessed with every move that affects every person on cases of interest, that they immediately jump to this person is screwed, or this is huge, or this motion means this. And I would say, you don't know. And I mean, the man retired, okay, honorably, so they say, got his rank back, as I'm told. Okay. And the timing, is it interesting? There are all these other cases going on. Maybe. Are there many, many cops who have been involved post Karen's case with all kinds of things? Absolutely. There's no question that, Karen's defense has led a wake of bodies in the sense of police careers. I mean, Proctor, as you said, is a verb at this point. This good is apparently a disgrace. Even Tully and Buchanan got sanctioned on some level, and you could go on and on. But you don't know what this means at the moment. I mean, it may mean something. The timing could be curious. It may relate to all these other cases. The other thing is, to me, what's interesting is I would need to know the pension situation to know whether this really means anything. If he's fully vested and he retired, okay, well then I think everybody needs to calm down. Okay. If you quit or resign or retire after doing 20 something years, but like a year or two before you're going to fully vest, that's a red flag. I mean, like, who does that, right? What person would leave all those dollars on the table? But if he's fully vested and he's able to leave and able to leave honor, I'm not defending him. Believe me, I hope we see him, on the stand in another case we're not going to talk about today. Yeah. But I just don't understand why everyone is assuming this means anything without knowing more. And people, he has a couple of years left before he fully vests. I don't know that that's true. Okay, pensions for public service are very interesting. Okay, was he in the military? A military can add to your time. I don't know if he was in the military off the top of my head. You can't just assume because he's leaving now and do the math. We don't know.
It's 20 years because he was hired on or before April of 2012. There are specific, like, guys, I know this stuff like the back of my hand because of my dad. Tully was in a different class. It's not the new rules. It's the old rules. It's not 25 years. It's 20 years. And you have to know what you have to know. There is a special circumstance, though, for the age of 55. So he had to apply for this, okay? It is at least between 90 and 120 days that you have, he didn't go in on April 7th and say, I'm retiring tomorrow. That's not how this works. That's a resignation or that is not a retirement. Colonel Noble signed this. This was in the works for at least several months. Now, with that being said, look at the vested schedule. The only question I have is him at age 53, because it's usually 55, but they will because he had 23 years. He was 3 over the 20 needed for his cap for the prior to 2012 police officers. So, however he was able to work that out, and they've been known to do that. But I would say in all of the research, in looking at the vested schedule, and looking at Mass State Police, the retirement board, there is all roads lead to him getting his full retirement.
Okay. And if that's the case, then this becomes less scandalous. I mean, any police officer who can get out as early as they can and get a full retirement, come to New York. I guarantee you 99% of NYPD officers, if presented with that, would say, sign me up. Okay. Again, the timing could be suspicious. It could be any number of things. I think it's just a wait and see. And the problem is this, and this really relates again to like everyone who just follows all of this stuff. And it's people who are, very pro one side, very pro another side. It relates to normal people. It relates to lunatics online. They see something and just immediately make these pronounced statements of, oh my God, it means this, it means that. And everyone should just calm down. We don't know. We don't know. He'll be asked about it at some point.
Oh, sure.
He'll be questioned about it. I would imagine when he gets deposed in a certain civil lawsuit, they may want to know all kinds of things. And, generally speaking, you can ask almost about anything in a deposition. Doesn't mean it would come in at a trial, but you just don't know. It's interesting. It's curious. The timing is fascinating. It may mean something. It may not. But when everybody jumps online and starts making these pronounced statements of, oh my God, it's happening, or that, respectfully, again, to normal people and weirdos, you don't know what it means. You just don't know without more information.
Respectfully to the normal people and the weirdos. We encompass everyone, right? So I think that there was heightened sensitivity or thoughts on this, just due to the fact that this very same week, last week, we got the additional information on prosecutors in Sandra Birchmore's case coming forward, stating that there was potentially evidence withheld, including the DNA evidence on the strap. Warning, trigger warning, lovies. I'm talking about something homicide that may be triggering from Sandra Birchmore's case, but that there was Matthew Farwell's DNA on the strap around her that was found around her neck, and also that his DNA matched the semen in her underwear. That was never tested. And that is very concerning to me, that Stoughton police, that Canton police, that Mass State police knew that the video evidence existed of Matthew Farwell being the last person to see Sandra Birchmore, in that time frame. No one else ever came or left that apartment after Matthew Farwell. You did a couple of interviews with him. He said, "Trust me, bro, I didn't do this." But you never even collected a DNA sample, and you knew that there was DNA on those articles.
So you're blaming a lot of the right parties, but you're not blaming the ultimate party, the head of the snake, who's responsible for this, who is Michael Morrissey. Okay, the state police, the Stoughton police, the Canton police, that's all lovely, but the party that is at fault, if none of this was done, was the prosecutor. At the end of the day, they're in charge of the investigation. Okay,
Yeah.
They're the ones who have to dictate to the police how this works, what you need to do. And if they're missing all these red flags, that's bad enough. But if they're not even testing DNA and they're not even attempting to get a sample from the most obvious subject, the person who's seen going in, the
Right.
person who had the relationship with her, and he says politely through his lawyer, "I'm not going to give you a DNA sample," that's fine. That ought to trigger your spider sense if you're the DA to say, why not? I mean,
Yeah.
what's he hiding? And then you go through other channels. You can get his DNA surreptitiously, discarded water bottle, any number of things. You test that against the male donor DNA. If it matches, you get a court order for a real sample. You could arguably get a court order for him to get a real sample anyway, just because of all the other evidence. So the fact that this is all coming out in a federal prosecution when the DA, blessed this as just an unfortunate, tragic suicide, that office is just embarrassing. I mean, this is, or you could say corrupt. I mean, I don't know if this is just a failure of competence, if it's corruption, that's for others to decide. But investigatively, just on the merits of how they handle the investigation, a private medical examiner, comes up with the explanation to show that this doesn't fit the scene that was portrayed. It turns out that there's, Farwell's DNA on the item that is used as, essentially the murder weapon, the ligature, ignoring all the other evidence, the failure of the electronic evidence, conducting interviews, in the guy's car with Maddie or whatever the hell they called him. They're just investigatively, these people they shouldn't be doing this. And, in a few months, I imagine it'll be up to the voters to agree or not agree and say, let's get new people doing investigations of things that matter where they live. And, but that's for the voters of the county to decide.
Yeah, and it was just it was jarring to me, because I went back and I was looking at the Stoughton Internal Affairs investigation, and all of this was known, Mr. Bederow. Like, it'll still appall me to this day about them knowing about all of the text messages, them having an actual confession or a conversation, at least, between Sandra Birchmore and Matthew Farwell, recounting the date in which he took her virginity, the thoughts that he was the father of her unborn child, this grooming behavior, and all of the years long, it was 50,000 pages they found confirmed on her laptop computer. And I went back and saw that it said in page 19 of the internal affairs from Stoughton that on Thursday, September 30th, 2021, I met with Sergeant Fanning of the MSP ISU. I was given a thumb drive contained evidence from the unattended death investigation of the victim, Sandra Birchmore. A file labeled evidence contained redacted, but another file that was a PDF was titled Blacklight Case Birchmore. And that file contained 50,000 pages of communication that were pulled from Birchmore's computer. The computer had been synced with her cell phone, and the files were conversations, text messages, iMessages, and various forms of communications with her contacts. The document was challenging to review in that it did not go in chronological order, but that I found like despicable that they named it like Blacklight when it was talking about like there was just unsavory things that were coming out rather regarding Farwell. I'm like, ew, name something appropriately, you assholes. But that was weird. They knew about it in 21, and they said that they still didn't have enough to move forward with charges on Farwell, but the feds did, and they had to use a witness statute.
So, well, that's right. In order to create a federal crime, you have to get creative for what is traditionally
right
state court murder. Look, the reality is Morris will be gone in a few months. So these questions should be directed at the candidates, including the candidate who currently is embedded in the office. And people should ask him, you're the senior guy, you know, you're the best trial lawyer we have. We know you got consulted on Reed. We know you tried Walsh. You must have been consulted on Birchmore. What did you know? And did you know it? And what did you say? And what would you do differently? Will you criticize the state police? Will you criticize the Stoughton police, Canton police? Will you criticize the people in your office? Will you, how did this happen? And what would you do differently? And how do you explain this? Again, those are the questions that have to be asked. And they have to ask the other candidates too, about, the outside candidates. And I'm sure they'd be very critical. But the real person to ask about this stuff is the guy who says, trust me with the job. I've been entrenched in that office for 20 years. I'm the top dog in the whole office. I have a good reputation generally as a prosecutor, but, what is he doing? And what did you advise? They should have asked him about the Reed stuff too, that, apparently he wouldn't touch that case. These are all things, and you deserve what you get. If you live in that county and they vote for,
right,
the same, then don't complain. But
agreed.
The answer is, Morrissey is what he is. He's, he'll be gone soon. His legacy will not be good, whatever. But for these kinds of things going forward, to the extent it matters, ask the people who want the office and will either change or not change.
Yeah, that's so true. But during that internal investigation report as well, they said that Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore engaged in text messaging that they discussed in the date, that the content of the text messages indicate Farwell and Birchmore, had relations. And it said, in order to have a sustained finding in this allegation, investigators would need the testimony of Sandra Birchmore, who is deceased.
How convenient.
Right?
Look, every murder case involves somebody you can't speak to, right?
Right.
And yet cases are made or not made based on being creative, trying to think outside the box, trying to be intelligent and building a case. And that sounds like an excuse to just say, oh, there's a blockade at the end of the road. And, oh, well, it'd be nice to talk to her. Or you dig into the communications, you learn more about her, you speak to her friends, look, if you want to investigate, you investigate. If you want to whitewash it, you whitewash it. And I think at this point, it's hard to deny, based upon the recent evidence that was revealed in the federal bail hearing or bail paperwork, everything they missed electronically, they missed with the DNA, they missed with the medical examiner. They're too comfy with, the way they do interviews and the relationships. the idea that this was a serious investigation by the state, that's for people to decide. But the evidence seems to suggest that it was certainly incompetent at best and,
Yes.
whitewashed at worst, which would be corrupt if that were true.
Absolutely. But like where you're saying, I find this very interesting because this will be exactly in direct correlation. So when you're saying like speak to the friends, they should have investigated deeper. Well, they allegedly they did, because again, in this Stoughton IA on Thursday, April 7th of 2022, I received a text message from Redacted. The text was a screenshot of the comments in a section of a Facebook post commenting on the recent Boston Globe article on resignation of Matthew Farwell and redacted of Sandra Birchmore. The post was by a person using the screen name Redacted, and alleged that Birchmore's friends had been contacted by members of the Stoughton Police Department after her death, and that the friends were threatened and called liars. Subsequent to this, I had a discussion with Mass State Police Lieutenant Fanning. We spoke about the possible implications under Mass General Law, Chapter 268, 13B, known as the Witness Intimidation Statute.
The statute everybody loves in Massachusetts. Where is it here? Exactly.
We resolved that any witness describe a violation of that statute, I would inform Lieutenant Fanning and reevaluate.
I mean, again, it's for the voters. I mean, this is an epic failure, okay? And it's indefensible. I mean, look, again, they go if Farwell's DNA is on the ligature and they never knew that, never tested it, never even to see what the male donor DA was, never made any opportunity to identify the male donor DNA, never looked into all these other things because she's not available to talk to us. These people are not qualified to do a lot of what they do. I mean, does anybody have any faith that right on down from the Norfolk DA's office to the state police and whatever local agencies were involved, that they gave an honest evaluation of this situation and didn't just shove it aside? And if they did give an honest evaluation, if you're able to get past that threshold, does anybody believe that they gave an honest and competent investigation? And the fact that the DNA is left undetected without even an effort to identify it, the answer is no.
Yes.
I mean, a first-year law student or a first-year forensics student, a fifth grader would think, well, maybe, I watch TV. Don't they have like DNA? How do we know?
Right. And that like brings me though to just a medical standpoint in my brain. When you're going back to the medical examiners for Sandra Birchmore, initially we have a ruled as a self-checkout, right, of a suicide. Then we know that we have Dr. Baden and an independent Lord, what am I trying to say here? What is it? It is not a autopsy done, and they come back that it is homicide. And I'm questioning where the body tells the medical examiner, like, that's how it's supposed to be. But the police, Mass State Police, are supposed to tell you what were the circumstances surrounding the death. Now, if you go back into all of Sandra Birchmore specifically, you will see Lieutenant Fanning, you will see other people stated as, the informal nature of Maddie. We had an interview with him, but also from the jump, calling it a suicide. Now, this is before the autopsy has even been completed. They set the narrative, and then the medical examiner, unlike Dr. Scorty Bello, who held the line for Officer John O'Keefe's autopsy and really ended up being a benefit for the defense, and Karen Reed, because she would not say, she stuck the landing with this is undetermined. She's unable to determine what happened here.
Investigatively, when the cops show up, okay, and they see a young girl hanging from a doorknob or something,
sitting, yeah.
I think we can all understand the initial working theory is suicide. I mean, let's be intellectually honest just about what the eyes tell you. Now, again, but you can't just say, "Oh, we're done here. That's that." What a sad case. You still have to get a credible autopsy to determine, the cause, which will then lead you to classify the manner. Based on the hyoid bone and all that, they probably should have, at a minimum, had it determined. Then you say, well, wait a minute, what was this young girl's state of mind? And then you see all these other facts and things which would say, well, the visual suggests suicide, but there are some other issues here. So you keep investigating. And there are little things, I hate to get all Columbo on people, but, again, with Columbo, it's always little things that don't make sense. And in this thing, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going on memory, she had laundry going.
Yes.
Like when that is a Columbo thing. Okay. What person who is about to systematically and methodically end their life make sure they're doing a fresh load of laundry before? You don't. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't prove anything, but that doesn't make sense. And then you figure out, okay, there's a guy coming in very shortly before, and it turns out to be him. And then we have all of these electronic communications. And again, now all of a sudden, the needle is tilting from suicide to undetermined, and now it's leaning towards homicide. So, and they just mailed it in and or are incompetent. I mean, what else can you conclude? They didn't even look for DNA. They didn't attempt to get the obvious suspect DNA. They tried, and he said, I'm not going to do it. Now, he had an absolute right through counsel to say, I decline your invitation to provide you with a buccal swab of my DNA.
Right.
Okay. Now, that's fine. That's absolutely his legal right. And if I were his lawyer and I believed that he was a murderer, I would do the same thing. Any lawyer would do that. But any serious investigator at that point would say, what the hell is going on? Why won't he do this? This is like not a big deal. Why won't he do that? And then you get suspicious. And then you look for other manners. Is there DNA? Okay, we have a male donor unknown. How do we get Farwell's DNA? You get it from this. You get it from all kinds of things. This happens. I can't tell you how many cases I have even pending right now where the initial DNA comes from a police interview with the discarded water bottle or the cigarette butt or the bag from McDonald's that they feed the guy and all that or anything like that. There are ways to do it if you want to do it.
Which leads you to the exact question of why didn't they? Why didn't they want to do it?
Well,
because if there was nothing there, this is what I always say. If this was 100% just like the dumb blind leading the blind, right? And that Morrissey was just like, no, he's a good guy, blah, 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 whatever. And they don't think it, you would at least say, I'm going to rule this out. I'm going to rule it out. And the fact that you chose not to leads you to go down a more nefarious route.
There are only two possibilities, neither one which is good for that. You're either shockingly incompetent and out of your depth to be handling this kind of investigation, and or you're corrupt in that you whitewashed it and don't want to know because you have buddies involved. And I don't know that that's the case, but neither one of these scenarios is good. But you need to make effort. I mean, like, perfect example of like, how do you get DNA? Last week on Long Island, the Gilgo Beach serial killer pled guilty, whatever. And that was in New York, a huge thing for years with these women, and nothing's ever going to happen. And the DA out there was corrupt, who was charged with and went to prison. The top prosecutor out there was corrupt. The police chief out there was corrupt. They all went to prison. Okay. And a new DA came in and said, we're going to give this a fresh look. We're going to do all kinds of things. Okay. We think, how are we going to handle this? And they had kind of an idea. They leaned to this guy, but you need evidence. And they had DNA. How do we match it? A pizza box, a pizza crust. They followed that guy around. They got, a discarded crust of pizza, a pizza box, other things. And you know what? It led to a DNA profile that matched. that led to getting a real, and they used very cutting edge DNA techniques, which are a little controversial, but they put that aside. And they found him and they got him. And last week he just pled guilty to 8 life sentences or whatever
My
it was.
God.
And, you know, again, in this case, they find her hanging. They have all this other evidence that Farwell is something weird here is going on. To not just attempt to seriously try to match DNA as a check on the item list. And you know what? If it comes back not him, it doesn't even have to be interesting. It can just be we're dotting I's, crossing T's, looking for suspects, look for the logical people. And they did speak to him, so they knew that he was a logical person to speak to. They knew about the relationship. They knew about his, sexual abuse. And let's be honest, let's call it what it is: sexual abuse. She wasn't, and they just dropped the ball for whatever reason. They're embarrassing. Yeah. They're not credible. Not in this case. Not in Karen's case. Not in other cases. But ultimately, none of this matters unless the voters decide it matters.
And unfortunately, I'm not a Norfolk County voter, so I can't make sure that, I can try to jazz people up. Vote for what you believe in, guys. Vote for what you want. Vote for the future. Vote for your daughters. Vote for Karen's and for Sandra's and for girls everywhere. And for, our next generation of men and police officers and women. Just do better.
I don't even think you have to get like that far into the weeds where like you can almost hear the national anthem playing in what you're saying. Just vote for competence and credibility, like across public safety. Get the bad guys if you have the evidence and the responsible way to get the bad guys. That's all. Vote for credibility and competence and sincerity and purpose across the board. Vote for public safety. Isn't that what you want, the DA?
That's the only thing you wanted. That's quite literally the only thing you should give a shit about your DA. Just get the bad guys. Prosecute who needs to. Don't prosecute who shouldn't be. Period.
Get them fairly.
And fairly.
Get them fairly.
And fairly, says the defense attorney. No, just kidding. No. I love that.
I still have to pretend, I'm a lawyer fighting for truth, justice, and the American way and freeing the bad guys, people say.
Well, yeah, no, always. But I did want to just push back on one thing. When you say when they walked into that scene specifically for Sandra Birchmore, I think that anybody with eyeballs, Mr. Bederow, when you see someone in a seated position, on a floor, had it been an actual full weight bearing, sorry, trigger warning, hanging, then I could say, okay, I would see that. But if you are quite literally looking at someone in a seated position on a floor with a ligature around their neck, that is for anyone. And I know police officers are first responders. They're smart. They're educated. You're going to look at that and say, I mean, this was a slow, painful, methodical, you could have done this 19,000 other ways. Why this one? And how intentionally must you have been for you to do it like that? So that would have been red flags just for me as a medical professional. But as I'm looking at the police coming in, and that's Lank was first on the scene, but him coming in and seeing that, I would have been like, why am I seeing a broken necklace that you wore every single day, Columbo style, that it's ripped and broken? Those are things that did she rip her own necklace off before she decided to sit down and put her neck against something for an extended period of time? You would have said, stop. Your autonomic response to live would kick in that circumstance so many different times that I feel like it would be hard to even go through it all.
I mean, look, the way I look at it, at first blush, responding cops, I get it. Their initial instinct is going to be, this is probably done to herself. Just initially. I mean, that's just common sense. No one's going to think their first reaction, this is a stage thing. I'm framing her for her own
death. Yeah.
Right. But you still have to go through the credible process and due diligence of looking at everything. And what I'm saying is, once you start looking at other things, there ought to have been investigative curiosity and red flags to at least make you question things and dig deeper. And then the famous joke I always say, the instinct should have kicked in. Detective, go detect something. And, this, again, call it what you want. Call it incompetence, call it a whitewash, call it both. Either way, it's a terrible, terrible look that this is a federal prosecution for murder of a federal witness. And at a bail hearing a year and a half later, they have to reveal that we have the defendant's DNA essentially on the murder weapon, and we have all this other evidence against him that the state never even analyzed or looked at or took the curiosity to look at. It is very destructive of the DA's credibility in terms of competence, credibility, and possibly integrity. There's no good explanation for this. But again, ask the candidate who's currently in the DA's office what he would have done differently. I mean, does he have the stones to separate from the people supporting him and say, you know what, they did a terrible job here. They should have done this. They should have done that. And I wasn't involved, or I was involved. I don't know. Or does he say they handled it properly? Because I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me, supporting me in an election. These are the difficult questions. I mean, if you're running for DA and you have the full-throated support of the establishment, and in the last couple of years, you've had the Birchmore fiasco, Karen's fiasco.
Yeah.
I don't get into the one I'm involved with. That's for others to decide about that. And some of these other situations, it's fair to ask the guy entrenched in the office at the highest level who says, I'm the guy for the job, how is this happening? And are you part of this?
Yeah. Yeah. Want to do a Zabar's coffee break and an email break? Okay.
I do. I need to answer some stuff. Give me a few minutes.
We'll be right back. Find the favorite song of Mr. Bederow. You know it. I love it. Are we ready? Hey, Zabars. I tagged you on Twitter. How you doing? On the Upper West Side. Oh, did we play the whole song? All right, lovies. I don't know if we played the whole song, but that's something. Oh, look at our LML. It says smash that like while we wait for our emotional support attorney. Yeah, because now I'm going to ask him when he comes home with Zabars, when he comes back with a fresh cup, because he's a working man, working in a suit on a Sunday, still shows up for us. 10 out of 10 would recommend. It's our guy. But I wanted to ask about Proctor and about the discovery. Proctor asking for discovery in a civil suit. Karen's being deposed on the 14th, I believe, for her civil suit. But Proctor has proctored himself. Proctor should go see a proctologist. Some say. Just saying. Oh, FBI ice cream truck says, Kim, you have to try Cajun coffee milk. Babe, first of all, your picture, incredible. Secondly, what say you? Explain this to me. I'm not a spicy girl. Yes. Music to My Soul says, Kim, did you see my suggestion to rename these Sunday shows to Mr. Bederow Talks the Lovies Off the Ledge? We have a Just Breathe segment of the show, Music to My Soul. We have to just breathe with Mr. Bederow because he says, calm down. Okay. He doesn't say it to us, though, in a way in which makes our fur go up on our backs. We don't get aggressive at him. We don't become feral and say, I'm sorry. Who are you? We go, oh, okay, tell us more. But we should do Talk Us Off the Ledge. Talk the Lovies Off the Ledge. We should do a show for that. I also did want to have like a questions for Mr. Bederow show. But I'd have to, he's like, we can't do this on the fly because we know you. And this would be something that we would need to see the questions beforehand. Maybe we could do that in the next like Sunday service or two. Good morning, Jim. Hi, Mr. Bederow.
Hi. So I was thinking, as you know, I had to switch to Nespresso because I already drank the whole pot of Zabars. Just to put a bow tie on what you were talking about, and about whether, does the candidate running for DA have any knowledge or involvement? I don't know what they do in Norfolk County, and they ought to do it because it's not like they have that many homicides. But what they used to do, and I assume they still do, I'm not in the office anymore, but in Manhattan, anytime there was a homicide, and I assure you there are more homicides in Manhattan than Dedham and surrounding environs, they would have a meeting after every homicide within a few days of all of the senior people, okay, in the homicide unit, if you will, or what they would call on the homicide chart, the way we did it. And they would sit at a table and you would present the facts and whatever, and you'd get grilled with questions, what about this? What about that? How are we doing that? And like, so the whole, not that anyone else was responsible for anything, they wouldn't be, but there was this backup system in place where brilliant minds and experienced prosecutors were making sure that all these things were being done and making you defend it. How are you going to prove this? It was like a collaborative process to make sure that you try to do the right thing. And the idea, if you took like a Birchmore fact pattern and put it in what I'm describing to you now, that it would end up with all of these investigative, incompetent missteps. It would be literally impossible for that to happen. Right. So yeah, that office, their whole system or lack thereof in how they do everything really should have people concerned and questioning. Same thing with like Karen's case. Karen's case in Manhattan, under that system probably never even gets indicted. Okay. And if it does, once all that other evidence comes out, the ARCA stuff, the medical evidence, which doesn't support it, it doesn't go down ultimately the trial path it went down. Okay. That office is in need of a serious overhaul.
Yeah, the policies and everything. And I think that's so interesting that you say that, because in hospitals or in healthcare, we call that an interdisciplinary team meeting, right? Where you're going to get everyone from the administrator all the way to the aides that are helping, and physical therapy and surgery. Like, it would be everybody together of, let's debrief what happened, what did we do here, what is this, let's go over this case and actually like forensically study it. So I think that is so imperative, and that's how you guys get the different, or how we would come to have best outcomes for patients.
If I'm one of these people and I'm running for Norfolk DA and I'm one of the outsiders, I would be campaigning on this. I would say we're going to have a system in place, almost like a firewall, to prevent incompetence by having, these high level meetings with this blue ribbon panel of people after every serious thing, and collaboratively make sure that we're doing this the right way, getting a vigorous exchange of ideas from experienced lawyers, experienced detectives, whoever is going to be part of this, and do it. And that clearly doesn't happen in the current DA's office, because look at what they do.
Yeah. Interesting. Harma said that's why Adam will implement the anti-corruption task force if he is elected. Maybe that's one of his things, Deitch, that he's kind of the task force part of like a collaborative effort.
I mean, that's a different issue. I'm just talking about basic level,
just crime. Yeah.
Competence in making sure we're doing this in the right way. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, anti-corruption is a whole nother conversation, and certainly some guy who prosecuted corruption in the U.S. Attorney's Office is going to have a lot of gravitas to speak to that and implementing it. I mean, that's obviously a huge advantage for him.
It is. I wonder if there is I wonder if they're going to do anything. I know that why do they not like do enough interviews? I feel like all these candidates should be out, like literally. I'm not tweeting at Deitch anymore because I look silly when I do it. Or when he writes something, I'm like, if you want to come anywhere near my show or Aiden or with Jess or anybody, like just go on with any of us so that we could ask you some good questions. And he just doesn't. I know he's busy.
I'm not a political advisor or analyst, so I have no interest in any of that. But as an observer with a little bit of common sense and understanding of how this all works, it's quite shocking that for the most part, none of them have any social media presence, no serious. They have no direct engagement with whether it's you, anyone else, or whoever online. To any great extent. They don't seem to speak that much on issues going on inside the office, which are problematic. Like, for example, when this Birchmore stuff came out last week, this should be a commercial or an advertisement or a press release, a press conference about, this is the problem I'm talking about. This is what the current Norfolk DA's office is, and it's going to be more of the same unless you vote for me. And here's what I would do differently. And none of them seem to do it, other than the one candidate from the U.S. Attorney's Office. I mean, he seems to be a little bit out there online. There's so much more that they could be doing and saying, and they have to draw a distinction. Do you want like more of the same or not? And you have a candidate who is attached to the DA's office, and they're not like going after that, not really. And they're not asking the media to ask the questions that we're talking about any of this. And so I don't get it. But again, I'm not a politician, and the voters will do whatever they do. And what's shocking, and why the The people that are not in the office, why they need to do it is because they have a risk of splitting the, anybody but Morrissey or his people vote. And when you have these multiple candidate things, and that gets split, the candidate that has the support of the entrenched establishment, no matter what, is going to get a certain percentage. Like that,
Yes.
I don't know what the percentage is. And the other people have to deal with that. And if they're splitting the other vote, the core supporters of the entrenched candidate are going to be unmovable. Don't take this as political, but it's very similar to how when Trump ran, okay? There is a core of people that no matter what are going to vote for him. Like there's nothing you can do or say that was ever going to get them to move away from him. So when you had in the first time he ran in 2016, if you remember the Republican primary, there was like 10 candidates, right? And you know it's going to be plurality. They're each going to get like 7%, and this one's going to get. But then you had Trump that no matter what was going to get his like 20% or whatever that number was. No matter what, it doesn't matter what he does or says. But that core group held, and all the other people split the vote, and there you go. And that could be the situation here if they don't, distinguish themselves.
You would have been so proud of me. I said this the other night on like when I was texting you to ask if we were going to do Sunday service, because I was saying, and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way at all, but I was like, Dejuna Perkins, right? Somebody who is kind of a fringe candidate. I think it's not like, I think Deitch is like kind of like come in hot as the outsider, and you have establishment because we know Morrissey, is out. So there you have those two, but like I said, that she politely should drop out, right? Because we can never afford. We need every other vote that goes to like the Green Party or whatever the fuck, whatever back in the olden days, if Ross Perot would run or something, like you would just need to, you have to capture every vote you can. So the smaller people, if you're getting 1 or 2%, that could make the difference in the overall vote.
Well, it can. And, it's not for you or me or anyone else to say,
right,
you ought to drop out. Her attitude would be, well, Deitch should drop out. That's for them to figure out and all that. The problem with Perkins is this. Nobody knows who she is.
Nothing.
And she announced running for DA like a year ago at a time when, the Karen stuff was going on at its like most sensational, most controversial. And she had the whole field to herself and got no buzz. And again, she may be a great candidate. She may be a great DA. I don't know, because you don't know anything about her. She surrendered that opportunity to get out there, grab the field, start a dialogue. I'm this, the DA is this, here's what I would do differently. And that's probably why someone like Deitch said, well, she's not going to win, so I'll jump in. And now he's out there. They're both former prosecutors. They both have that. Coming from the U.S. Attorney's Office that, investigated the DA's handling of Karen's case is interesting. But the problem is you don't know who she is. You don't know what she stands for other than she's running against the establishment. But to do what? I don't know. I don't really know anything about her background. I don't know anything. Now, again, I'm not in Norfolk County, so it doesn't matter. It may be if she's on the ground every day, going to schools and community groups, that she's got plenty of support, and we don't know. Right. But I think it's problematic that if you've been in the race for a year and, you're going to change the office and you have the credentials to do so, which by all accounts she does, like we should know more. What does she say? I have no idea. Other than I'm not Morrissey, which is a good start, but not enough.
It is not enough. You're absolutely right. And it's like just a 5-point plan. I don't understand. And listen, social media doesn't need to be your priority, but when you're connecting with your people, when you're connecting with your constituents, it kind of should be. I don't know, like I think keep it simple, stupid. Give me a 5-point plan of who you are and what are you going to bring to the table that is not just, I'm not a meatball.
That's right. Right. I mean, you have to say why I'm the right person for the job. You can't just run on I'm not Morrissey, especially when there's other candidates who are not Morrissey, and frankly, on paper alone, have even stronger credentials because I prosecuted corruption in the U.S. Attorney's Office, including corruption created allegedly by this very office that I'm seeking to take over. So, standing alone on paper, his resume appears better, but that's not a reason to elect someone either, just because I was in the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I just feel like somebody has to stand up and say, here's why you need to vote for me over everyone else. And if there's two people that are just kind of saying, vote for me without many details, and then you have someone from the office who has the machine behind them, they're going to get the machine candidate is going to get, I don't know what that number is, but that percentage, no matter what, they will vote. It doesn't matter what he does or says. We can't have these other people that are going to do it. And I would be concerned if on the other side of that equation, there are two people who potentially are going to split that. Or at least not even at 50-50, but one of them may carve off 5 to 7% from the other one. And then when you lose by 4 points, that would suck.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I think that's so smart and strategic in like the need for change and like to just really think about it, everybody, and pick who you're voting for appropriately. I know that Emily C., she is in Norfolk County. I know that there is, oh gosh, who else is Norfolk County that is voting there? But like everybody really matters, and your voice matters, and it's important.
I guess my point is, if there's more than one candidate who is, anti-Morrissey, if you're one of those two, you can't just run against Morrissey, because if you say don't vote for Morrissey, they're both going to get votes.
Yeah.
If it's a 3-person race, if that's ultimately what it is, you need to distinguish yourself from both. You need to not only be like, this office is a disaster and I'm going to fix it, but you also need to say, I'm better than her or him, and here's why. I mean, you can't just run as one of two saying don't vote for him. You'll lose. You need to distinguish yourself in the field across the board.
And also, you don't have to be pussyfooting around certain things either, in my opinion. Like, you don't have to take on the big cases, right, Mr. Bederow? Like, you don't have to specifically say, Karen Reed was framed. We don't have to be Mr. Yannetti up on opening, which was, by the way, Big Poppy in 04 for me. Mr. Yannetti, my bowl of spaghetti, saying that trial won. But there is, like, you don't have to come out of the gate swinging in that capacity. There should just be, like, the principle of what you're standing on.
And look, I remember, way back when a lot of people, commentators, lawyers, whoever, are like, oh, these candidates should take a stand, like during the Karen Reed case. No, they should not. You never, as a candidate who's going to take over the office, editorialize an ongoing case in which a jury is going to determine guilt or innocence. That's exactly what a DA candidate should not do. On the other hand, what they should say is, why is there such a lack of confidence and a credibility crisis in the office? It's because of the way this case was handled. And they shouldn't comment necessarily on the outcome, but look at all the things that were done poorly. Okay. Look at Proctor and all of that stuff. Look how the DA handled that. Look how they ignored all this evidence, which strongly suggested that there was no car collision in Karen's case. And the DA's position was, we're not even going to look into it. A serious prosecutor at least would have said, time out, this is serious. So there are ways you can criticize the process and explain why the public has no confidence without jumping about, oh, this was a bad result. I mean, a jury's result is a jury's result. And as a DA, you have to accept that. If you can't accept that as a DA, then you can't be DA. I mean, ultimately, the jury determines a case. But they need to criticize and address why people have a lack of confidence and credibility in what they're doing. And it doesn't even require the outcome. I mean, like the Birchmore thing is a perfect example. Farwell is entitled to his day in court. He'll get it.
Yep.
You know, if he goes to prison for the rest of his life, so be it. It is what it is. It's not for the DA to determine, but they can comment and say, look at all the things that this office did not do to even determine this. But this is a state court case.
Yeah.
Right. This should not be in federal.
Yes.
Court because the state didn't do a serious investigation. That's what the candidate should be saying. You don't have to criticize the result.
Yeah.
We criticize the process.
Absolutely. And there's been a little bit of a noticing, in my opinion, of seeing other states or other cases that we've ever covered or I've ever covered, Mr. Bederow, where I look and we don't really often see like not guilty verdicts. We don't often see at at state level cases that are just, I mean, this many in like Massachusetts in a small amount of time, seeing the Kelsey Fitzsimmons, seeing Karen Reed. I mean, first with her mistrial, then our second trial coming back with not guilty on everything except an OUI, not a mistrial, hung jury. But like, there is something that you have to look at and say, these cases, and not in the same, not only Norfolk County, now we have Essex County. It's like, what the fuck? I don't understand what Massachusetts is doing because it feels to me, and even if you're like having other educated professionals from the legal field that say, when I was a prosecutor, I would have never. When I was a prosecutor, like, I mean, how many times we've heard that I would have never brought this case. And it's like, what is happening that there is such a disconnect and that it's almost like a laughing stock in the Commonwealth?
I don't know. And I even remember when I first got involved in following some of this and spent even just a few hours in getting the landscape of Karen's case and saying, how did this case get indicted? I mean, forget a trial. This is before the first trial. How is this even an indictment based on all of this? And I understand the investigation. I understand, again, initially why the police would think she was guilty. And I can understand why some people may still think she is, whatever. But, you know, prosecutors have to go on evidence and evidence that's going to satisfy the burden of proof. And I never understood how that ended up where it did. Same thing with Fitzsimmons. To me, that was like, there's just no way they're ever going to meet their burden, which is why, you know, that case to me was the most obvious candidate for a bench trial, you know, to take away the emotion. There's just a lack of proof. A judge is going to know it, and that's what happens. But these are, when you say we don't know why there's so many not guilties, you only know about a few of the cases, right, that are in the public eye. I mean, who knows what goes on behind the curtain and on the regular cases. The scary part is if this is how they handle the cases where the lights are shining the brightest, then what's going on in the darkness and the nuts and bolts and the people who can't afford high priced lawyers, experienced lawyers or whatever, that's what you should be scared about. Because if this is what they do on the cases where you're watching, then you should shudder to think at what goes on in the nuts and bolts and how the sausage is made every day in these courtrooms of people who don't get that kind of attention.
Amen. Truly, amen on that one. And before, I know, Mr. Bederow, that you're incredibly busy today, I just wanted to ask you one more thing or one more topic about Karen's civil trial and Proctor and this discovery calamity, if you will, like, or him begging for his discovery. And it's like,
I don't even know what you're talking about. I haven't followed that closely, so you have to fill me in. What about Proctor and his discovery? I don't even know what we're talking about.
Well, he's just being like, okay, so he is his own. It's saying that Mr. Proctor's counsel has requested that Ms. Reed's attorneys provide Mr. Proctor documents sufficient to, quote, refresh his memory in advance of the deposition. But Ms. Reed's attorneys have refused to do so, stating that they, quote, have no obligation by rule or law or other law to provide Mr. Proctor with the documents.
So both sides are acting reasonably. If I'm Proctor's lawyer, yeah, I want to know what they're going to ask him, and I want to know and be able to prep them. And if I'm Karen's attorneys, my response is F you. We're not here to help you, and there's no obligation. So there's no controversy here. He wants it. They said no. Who cares?
But he's not entitled to it.
No, he's not entitled to it, but I understand why he would ask it. And there are certain situations where a lawyer might say, I'll let you look at what you want to look at. But this is a very hostile situation. I mean, Proctor is the target of and the poster child of the corruption allegations and the civil rights violations. So they're not going to give him an inch. But he asked for it. I don't blame him for that. That's his lawyer doing a good job. And Karen's lawyer is doing a good job saying, F you, no. And if Proctor wants to say in his deposition every third question, I don't remember, is there anything you could show me? Then they'll have to deal with it during the deposition. But I don't know why this is controversial. I totally understand what Proctor's lawyer did, and I totally understand and agree with what Karen's lawyers did.
If Karen is being deposed on the 14th, did she received discovery, right? Or no, they don't get that for the deposition either?
It's no different. I mean, a witness in the deposition is a witness. If she asked for it and they gave it to her, so be it. On the other hand, Karen has all the discovery from the criminal case and everything else. So, I mean, I don't think she probably would have made that request. I mean, it does sound by Proctor a little desperate, grasping, trying to, a little desperate about what's coming. And they told him, piss off. But don't take this the wrong way. I don't know why that's interesting. I mean, it's just a tactic, and they told him no, they're going to depose him, and he's going to say, I don't remember, and it's going to make it he's going to try to make it a clunky process by, having amnesia about everything. I'm going to need to see this, and it gets messy. But I mean, I don't fault his lawyer for trying.
Yeah. Any thoughts, or just before I let go, good, anything on good that came across your desk that you thought was noteworthy?
Again, I see it casually. I don't study it, but I did see reference to, somebody outlining that he apparently, as we all suspected, participated and sent some of these offensive messages. If that's the case, he's just the latest disgrace. Again, I said the wake of police officer, professional casualties in this. And I hope it was worth it. I mean, again, throw them all out. You have to fumigate the whole process. And, I don't know what he did yet. We'll have to wait and see. But, here's a guy who basically threw his career away over, this ill-advised and ill-conceived prosecution of Karen, and they're all paying for it with their careers. So I hope I hope it was worth it.
When are you back next? When are you coming to Massachusetts?
We have court, I think May 14th, is it? May
at 2:00?
I don't know. I think it's the morning. It's in Boston.
Is it 9 a.m.? Son of a
gun. I think it's May 14th. Now you're gonna
it is May 14th. I just didn't know if you were coming earlier. May. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope I get to catch up with you, because I know that Maza and you got to go do the Kowloon. I was indisposed last time, but I will be absolutely wanting to meet up and see exactly what all the hype is about at Kowloon again, because I haven't been there in so long. Maybe we could make another run. or anywhere. I don't even care. I'll go to the right Capitol Grill this time.
There was maybe 5 or 6 people at Kowloon, but I will tell you, you can tell it was a whole bunch of Kowloon amateurs, because the way, you can't order at Kowloon like each person order a dish, which is what we did, because then what you end up with is food for 50 for like 5 or 6 people, which is what happened.
That's wild.
Tangerine beef and the wings were on point. So
I saw a picture. Maza posted a picture of those wings, and I said, "Son of a!" I wish I was there.
But the Saugus wings are they're a little messy. I like traditional chicken wings, not Saugus wings. That they're a little too goopy for me.
A little too goop. Well, that's good. Listen, Okay. So look, we have a scheduling queen here. Do we have? I'm sorry, we have an administrative assistant in the chat. She's got 2 p.m. on May 14th. Is that accurate?
Well, I better look. It's kind of frightening. See, that's funny. I have 9 a.m. Who do you believe? I guess it comes down to.
Well, I'm going to take Mr. Bederow's word for it. And if it changes,
I may very well be wrong. Although
no offense to a lovey.
No, I'd much prefer morning. Much prefer.
Yeah, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, especially, and that's Boston. This is Boston, right? South Boston.
It is.
Okay.
No, downtown.
Oh no, downtown.
Not
South Boston.
No, the other thing that we don't talk about is in South Boston tomorrow, apparently.
Sorry. Okay, that's it. On that note, I will not ask anything.
Touching that
with a 10-foot pole. I know.
With 1,000.
Okay, noted. And so for the rest of the day, you're busy, you're working. Are the Boston the Celtics are playing?
I want to be on Sunday. There's a lot going on and other stuff that has nothing to do with, thankfully, with Massachusetts. So you know.
That's good. I also will say, and I know that you don't love it, but when you wear a pink pastel, it brings me joy. I love you in a spring pink pastel.
You know, it's getting a little springy here.
It is.
A little chilly still, although this week is going to be, I think, in New York,
70s.
Going to be about 90 degrees. So I'm, not sure how I have to spend all day Monday and Tuesday in the city, and I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about, in a suit, 90 degrees on a Tuesday, but we have to go where they send us.
You always go where they send you. Mr. Bederow, thank you so much for an hour and a half of your time on a Sunday that you're busy. And dare we schedule next week's 8 o'clock? Be here or be square?
Maybe. Well, let me look. What is next week? Next week is April 19th.
Can you do it?
I can do it. Yeah.
All right. I'm penciled. It's in. It's locked and loaded. You're the best to ever do it. Go Celtics. Tatum's going to score it over 25 today.
No, he's not, because he's not playing, because they are locked into the number 2 seed. And I can assure you today that someone like you watch the Celtics game, you will probably recognize nobody who is in the playoff rotation will be playing today. They are locked in. There's nowhere to go for the last game. So there will not be Jason Tatum playing today.
Okay.
And credit to the Bruins for clinching a playoff berth yesterday. In the only Bruins way to do it, by losing 5 straight games and backing into the playoffs, to be immediately dismissed in the first round, probably swept. Nice job, guys. Way to finish strong.
Town of champions. We love it. Okay. All right. Goodbye, Mr. Bederow. Have an awesome day.
Let's talk about the state of your teams, okay? You said an hour and a half ago, your football coach is like, who knows what's going on with that.
Love it.
Your baseball team is a train wreck right now. Although they did win a few games, I understand, but they're not great right now. Basketball team is good, like championship or bust. The hockey team is like, it feels like 1980s Bruins. Always good, but never good and going nowhere. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So it's kind of lukewarm at the moment.
Hey, let's talk about the state of your teams, okay? What's going on with what are the Yankees doing? What are the Mets doing? I've been watching too much of the Mets.
My teams?
Well, your teams are my teams, but I'm saying like geographically.
Well, the Mets are like a 500 team, and the Mets are always like the redheaded stepchild in New York. The Yankees have lost 4 in a row, I think. So, but they're still, the Yankees. The Knicks, I'll talk about the Knicks. So the other night, we had a function, an alumni function from the DA's office at a bar, and the Knicks Celtics game was on. So we're in the heart of Manhattan, and as you can imagine, it's entirely a Knicks crowd watching this game. And so the Knicks rallied late and won. and the place exploded like the Knicks just won the championship or something, like they did when they beat the Celtics in the playoffs last year. And it was kind of sad and pathetic to see, actually, like what has become the state of New York sports, particularly the Knicks fans. For the Knicks fans to scream around like little boys and girls because they just won a regular season game, which is ultimately meaningless, and they're still going to finish third, which they did, behind the Celtics without Tatum for 90% of the year, to win a regular season game against the Celtics without Jaylen Brown. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised. So the Knicks are the Knicks. The New York hockey fans, it's a disaster. The Rangers finished in last place in the Eastern Conference. Sorry. The state of New York football, the Jets. I mean, honestly, the Jets, if the NFL did what they did in like European soccer and relegated teams, the Jets would have been relegated 20 years ago and would never be let back. They're such an embarrassment to professional sports. The Giants are bad, but they're getting better. So, New York is not good right now. But that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, you can rebuild and I don't know. The state of the union, the state of the sports, the state of, do you have any, listen, let me do a Bederow war update. Do you have any war updates? Would you like to, yeah. Yeah, I'm just wondering. Jess gives me a girl war update. Montante gives me a Montante war update. Do I have a Mr. Bederow war update?
In what context? What do you mean? About like world events, like actual real life?
Like Iran.
Oh God, I'm not. You know what?
Do you think we're pulling out soon? Am I going to be okay? I've been anxious since '86.
I have no interest in getting hate tweets and mail because I dare have an opinion about current events or politics.
Okay.
Honestly.
Okay. No war update. No Mr. Bederow war update. Okay. I take in the point.
But here's the other thing. I'm not a politician. I'm just a lawyer with an opinion and an expertise in like my own field. So I don't know why anyone would even care what my opinion is about war.
Well, you're just a calming. Listen. Sometimes it's good to have a little soothing of your soul when you get worried, or like I get worried about the kid. I get psychotic over the war things. So I am just like, I get so worried all the time.
I have opinions, but I don't feel compelled to share them and have people agree or disagree and scream and yell. And I get that enough on my opinions on criminal cases of my own or other ones in which I comment in the media or elsewhere. But beyond that, I don't. Nobody cares what I think about politics or the war.
Well, I say, I always will hope for world peace. Thank you.
World peace. That's not controversial. I agree with that.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bederow. I'll see you next Sunday, 8 a.m.
Hopefully not in a suit, but I'll see you then.
Have a fancy day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Lovies. He's the best. He's the best to ever do it. You know it. I know it. Okay. What am I saying here? Oh, you're wondering, does she have allergies or a chest cold? I think both. Something is happening. I've got a burning chest. I Theraflued this morning. I actually teed and I got a Diet Coke. Did I take a Dayquil pill as well? She's hopped up. Will I take an or like an antihistamine at some point? I think so. But when I woke up this morning, I grabbed a little card that was supposed to give me some sort of motivation. It said, inhale confidence, exhale doubt. I want to tell you, I'm inhaling a wheeze and expiring a cough. So that, don't know, it's pollen. I'm pollening. It's not a beautiful thing. I wanted to say hello to everybody because I forgot to shut off these goddamn super chats. And I appreciate everyone for doing it. Lauren Marie has been a member for 3 months. She's part of my fucking 5. I'm obsessed with you. Babe, are we going to do either a members only or a regular stream later on today? I have to talk all the shit. Did visits for home care yesterday? Oh, who is she? Did I get towed in downtown Lowell, or almost towed? I was put on a hook No good deed goes unpunished, babes. I'm out doing, I do a start of care. There was a whole situation. Someone had just got out of the hospital. It was 30-minute parking. I was there for 34 minutes. I have to pay a man named Armando $130 cash. I have to do a trot to Jean Dark Credit Union. I come back with $120 and I had 4 ones. I had a secret 20, but that was for like in case of emergency. And I say, I have $124. He says, no, I'm not taking the car off the hook. And I go, this is aggressive, Armando. He says, I need 130. I tried 10 minutes back and forth. I'm a nurse. I'm so sorry. It was 4 minutes. I say, okay, here's 140. I break. I cave. I give him the 140. I say, may I please have the $10 change? He says, I don't have any change. Okay, Armando. Okay, cool. Cool. So I was like, oh, I paid to work. I paid Armando so that I could try to work yesterday. Cool. Love it. Anywho, Just a Normal Mom has become a YouTube member consensually at my house. Sleepless Sleuth has been a member for 9 months at NurseKim's house. Good morning. Good morning. I love your turtle and a flag. To my Libra in Seattle, thank you for, look at your eyes. Oh, sultry, saucy. I like that. Witchcraft? What are we doing? Do you feed dimes to pine trees in your yard? Inquiring minds want to know. To GA Cat Mom, thank you for being a member at my house for 6 months consensually. So excited for Sunday service with Mr. Bederow. No one does it better than Mr. Bederow in a suit. When he said, not for you, I said, yeah, I like it. Don't make that weird. And Renee, thank you for being here for 4 months. Always looking forward to Sunday service. Auntie Sherry has been here for 2 months. Good morning, Good morning, Nurse Kim and Mr. Bederow. And to 25 years, as a retired at 49 years from New York Police Department, Mass General Law, Section 15B sub 4, a cop can lose their pension if proven through trial they committed a crime related to their duty. Well, thank you so much. 25 years to Jay. I appreciate that. I don't know if that has come out, but if it does, then we will find out. Karen Reed is being deposed on 4/14. Thank you. I starred that, Cop's daughter. To my Meatball Morrissey says, it screams D'Angelo Barksides from The Wire. Oh, I should have said this when Mr. Bederow was here. I'm sure he saw it. If you get the reference, we can be friends. Duh. And no one uses a doorknob because it's too close to the floor. Exactly. We're talking about Sandra Birchmore in this comment. And hi, everyone. I got unsubbed by YouTube. See it in 24 hours. I don't know what that means, good sir, but I appreciate you for being here. And I don't know why YouTube is unsubbing. Rude. They're mean. And to my Nana Swears, you have become a Nana that swears. Hi. What's your name? Is it Roberta? Is it Priscilla? Is it Dolores? Is it Phyllis? Are you Nana? Hello from the other side. Bruce Wayne says Norfolk County's judicial system has collapsed. The women in mass are saying when they get on jury trials, will absolutely not believe any cops. Bruce Wayne, you tell them. And V, thank you so much, says, Man United plays Leeds tomorrow. We hate Leeds. Can you ask Tiny Jesus for United to smash them, please? V7, Tiny Mary, Tiny Jesus in the boom. We hate Leeds. Okay. United is going to smash them tomorrow. Sunday's playing right now, and they're going to win as well because those are my boys. Farah Xhaka, Danny Ballard, my Broby. Music to my soul. My birthday was earlier this month, and my father got me a Mahomes and Kelsey Funko Pops. Although they're not bobbleheads, I feel like I'm staring at my own collection, like Bederow is behind him, has behind him. Oh, I love that. Not a bobblehead. Oh my God, I would love a bobblehead. Are you kidding me? We should all. Well, listen, I just got to get my boom collection complete. Tiny Mary, Tiny Jesus, Tiny Tiny Punch the Monkey, Tiny Chuck Norris, Tiny Mr. Bederow. That, Fab Five. That's a collection that is made by the gods. Oh, member for 15 months is my Meatball Morrissey Sketty Stain, my fairy tall mother, and she's been held hostage here. Babe, listen, you're the only one you're being held hostage by is that Meatball Morrissey, okay? Himself. Hanging on like some argida after a chicken palm sandwich. Look at him. I release you. I free you. I love you. I had fun at lunch. And to Cheech, who's been a member, I've held her hostage for 16 months as well. I love your guts. And I cried when I read your text yesterday. Stop it. You get worked up. And Kay Willis Realtor, you salt and pepper queen, loves Sunday service with Mr. Bederow. So do I, babe. And to Romy in Mass, have a fancy day. To Mr. Bederow, took me out. Romy, how are you? I haven't seen you in a long time. I hope you're doing well. And to the other Mary B, I hope you feel better, Earth Angel Kim. I'm also being non-consensually pollened. Would you please pray for my mother-in-law, Priscilla? Her cancer's back. Oh, the other Mary B, of course. Let's say all of our prayers for Priscilla and that she may be healed and that she has all the support around her and that she finds strength and hope and in her faith in God that she is able to be healed for all, right? Will you wake up with your health? Because your health is the most important, lovies. Sometimes we forget that or you don't think about it until it's taken away. But your health and your family are two things irreplaceable. And so I pray for her. And to 25 years, I'm not Scott McGinnis. I'm LawTube's most hated. Well, hello, not Scott McGinnis. Hello, LawTube's most hated. And Amy Adams has been here for 3 months and says, I love being a lovey. I love that you're a lovey. I love that you're all my best friends from out of town. And on that note, I'm about to go cough into the abyss, possibly put on a steam shower. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And we're going to talk shit either later on or tomorrow. All right? Bye, guys.
All right. Great job on the news.
Thank you.
We will, Courtney and I will share what happened when we went to dinner last night, Sunday dinner coming up. And as